So my last question would be, what are your suggestions to someone who wants to develop a work ethic like you, or who wants to, have a sense of purpose in what he's doing and be working really hard? Because it's not easy working hard. That's why it's called working hard, right?
Mhm.
So what are your suggestions?
Yeah, that's actually a difficult question, I think, because I'm not sure. I'm coming from a position where I feel like, this imposter syndrome stuff, because I'm not always like straight as an arrow and going into one direction. But I think, one thing that I think I'm really grateful for that I did in the past, is that I stuck with one thing for such a long time. So had I not started to, I mean, it would have been entirely possible to not pursue those data science stuff back then. I could have just left it behind and just go about my university courses. And I think having stuck with it for such a long time is just like, it's unfathomable for me what would have happened if I hadn't. Because if I had only what I've learned in university and sort of passively only taken in what was taught in university, I would probably, yeah, I wouldn't be competent enough for a position that I really would enjoy. So yeah, I think a good way of motivating yourself is, first of all, having a vision for what you want to do, like actually defining the parameters of what you want your life to look like one day, but also realizing what would happen if you don't do what you like, the worst case scenario. I think that's a stoic idea to, not really, but what would happen if you only made bad decisions from now on, and then
Okay.
sort of think this through and see where you land, make it really miserable. That can be a great motivator as well. And yeah, like, having these motivations and then sticking with one thing for an extended period of time, which is very hard for me, because I get easily interested in many things. So we talked about that on the phone several days ago. I always spread myself a little bit too thin because I'm interested in so many things. So yeah, I would say sticking with one thing that you can really see why it could be useful, that you like to do, um, and then just incrementally working on it over an extended period of time. And at some point, I think it's not, you don't really have to motivate yourself. It feels like if you're not motivated, then it's more like you have to think about what you're doing, like why is it not motivating. And oh, yeah, but yeah, there are some frustrating things from every now and then. So it's not, you don't, I think, not every frustrating work experience warrants an existential crisis. Let's put it this way.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a fun way to put it. Yeah, I was going to stop. This was the last question, but I'll just follow up quickly with
Yeah, go
one or
ahead.
two more questions. So yeah, so you talk about this worst case scenario thing, and uh, always reminding yourself why you are doing it, if that's what you were trying to say. So I think it points to a sense of urgency, uh, while a sense of urgency with doing your work and doing it in a good way, like a really good way. And so how do you derive that sense of urgency? Where do you derive that sense of urgency from?
So, for example, hmm, so I try to make it as visceral as possible for me. So I try to really, really think myself into that position. So I picture myself, for example, in a job that I hate, maybe without a family, in a city where I don't know anyone. I don't know. I make it like a realistic scenario that could happen if I don't if I don't do something. Like if I only passively lived my life in one direction and didn't progress in any way. And that is something that is totally realistic, I think. Like it's not that it's impossible. Like I don't picture myself like in a war zone in a zombie apocalypse, which would suck obviously, but it's not very likely to happen. But things that are likely to happen that are not good, and if you make that really concrete and let your creativity like spin around, make like a little sad story for yourself in the future, that can be motivating as hell when you think about or when you feel like you want to rather procrastinate or watch a Netflix show or something, then it's really good to have this movie play in the back of your mind and motivate you to do something to progress in life.
But doesn't that make you take life too seriously in a way if you're visualizing the worst case scenario all the time, and then
so
I mean
I
it has
wouldn't
its
overdo it.
advantages but disadvantages as well, right?
I mean obviously when you slack off once, it's not a very bad thing. I think only if you, after maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks and you were really unproductive and you feel like you're only procrastinating or doing unproductive things, then it's maybe time to activate that vision. Because, essentially, I mean, what else is it? Like I don't want to spend my life like passively sitting at home watching Netflix. That's not the person that I want to perceive myself as, and that's not the person that I want to become. And if that's what I'm doing for an extended period of time, then I have to question: am I still going into the right direction? What can I do to motivate myself again? Yeah.